Good night, all. And this is Alternate Views. Kimar Stuart speaking. Let me know if you can hear me well. Tonight we are streaming live from Dublin, Ireland. Um, just let me know if you can hear me well. Let us adjust the volume if it is not well. But thank you very much for tuning in this evening. Um, we have been on break for some time, and tonight we are back with a special show. As you guys know, we usually shoot from our base in Barbados, but today we are all over the next side of the world in Europe. So I want to thank you all for tuning in and to say that uh, I would have missed you guys. Um, but nevertheless, while we were out, we took the time to do some very beneficial things and do some work. Um, we would have made great strides um, in the work that we've been doing. We're going to certainly update you all as to the happenings of that work. So thank you guys again very much for tuning in. Sir Alfred Benjamin, welcome to the show. Very happy to have you back on the program. Jack Sobers is saying we sound great, so thank you, Jack. Terry Carrington, good night to you, Terry. Good night to Sugarcane King, and good night to Square 4. Thank you very much, Square 4, for the congratulations. Very much appreciated. As you may know, or as you may be aware, some announcements were made uh, by myself this week, and these announcements are some announcements that you'll be very proud of, because Alternate Views, the show, has been awarded as emergent venture for the year of 2024, and that emergent venture really is being a leader in economic change and social change and uh, proposing ideas and ideals to help transform society much for the better. And Alternate Views was recognized as a leader in that regard. So we want to say thank you very much. Alternate Views is nothing without the viewers. So I want to thank you all very much for making Alternate Views what it is. And I wish to thank you very much. So yes, Terry, we appreciate that. And Sir Alfred, thank you very much. So Shirlene is saying, thank you. We express gratitude. So we're live both on Facebook and we're live on YouTube. As you can see here, we are very much still in Europe. Majority of the uh, personnel that we were with, other economists and other financial persons involved in the tech industry. We made our broadened our networks, right? With persons from Amsterdam, We have persons from Ireland, we had persons from Brazil, had persons from Trinidad, St. Lucia, Romania, South Africa, and it really worked well. So, guys, tonight we want to highlight some of the award or some aspects of the awards that were given to alternate views. Um, Maybe to show us some footage if we can. Mm. Simone Dial is saying good night, Kimar. Good night to you, Simone, and welcome to the show. Always pleased to have you guys on. So far we're up at 33 persons. This is the restart of our show, and we want to have a very good show tonight. So let me just get some photos up here. Uh, let us show what we've been up to um over the last couple of days. The sheriff. Thank you very much, Sheriff, for tuning in. We appreciate you, Sheriff. So we're going to have our video posted up. So while that is being uploaded, I just want to welcome you all yet again. Um, just to acknowledge alternate views, the brand, alternate views, the book, and to tell you the loyal patron supporters that this show is nothing without you, and you made it successful. So those persons who bought the book, those persons who read the book, and those persons who did not hesitate to put their opinions out there as to what is happening, I appreciate you. So, in my appreciation, I must not hesitate to thank the publisher of the book, the editor of the book, who's Mr.
Alternate
Bennett
Views
Callan.
streaming Thursday, April 4th on YouTube at 7 p.m.
Mr. Bennett Calendar, Miss Margot Durant Calendar, who's the editor and publisher of the book, Alternate Views. So we want to thank them for the hard work they did behind the scenes in ensuring that the book was fully functional. I reached out to Wendell and told him I wanted to write a book, and he saw my book through to the end. So we want to thank Wendell for that. Wendell is no longer here. Uh, Wendell has gone on to the great beyond. He's passed away, but nevertheless, we acknowledge Wendell. We acknowledge Miss Margot Durant Calendar, and last but not least, we acknowledge Dr. Dennis Lowe, um, and his book as well. I have a copy here. I can show you. Okay. This is Dr. Dennis Lowe. We would have went through his book on the show a couple of times, and Miss Margot Durant Calendar and Wendell Calendar would have played a very pivotal role in ensuring that Dr. Lowe's book was also published. So let me just take a quote from Dr. Dennis Lowe's book as a means of inspiration. So I'm going to take a quote from Dr. Lowe's book, and it says, "We must never let others decide how okay we must feel about ourselves. That must be a choice of our own choosing, and feeling okay about ourselves is a matter of understanding where we are in life and deciding that whatever it takes to achieve that level of personal comfort with who we are and where we want to be with our lives. That's really the bottom line about this whole matter. And we must stop letting others, whom in many cases have little genuine interest in our overall well being, dictate our pursuit of this all important life journey. Do not let them measure the virtues and total worth of your life by their own mediocre standards and desire to control your life. Press on with the journey. It will be one that is really worth the struggle. And that quote is so uplifting because I remember um, Alternate Views, the book, was treated with scant disrespect. Scant disrespect. Alternate Views was treated. Alternate Views was tossed out of the office of the Democratic Labour Party. Tossed out and determined that it would not be sold on the premises by its president, by its suspended president, I should say. It was tossed out. And if we had given up based off the mediocre measure that was dished out to us, we would have not been here in Europe to receive the accolades and to receive the awards that were given to alternate views. And today, we could not say that alternate views is a thought driver as it relates to economic change and social change and the other benefits that are associated with alternate views, the podcast, and alternate views, the book. So I say that to say, do not give up, even in the face of adversity, and even in the face of persons who hold perceived power, although they may devalue your work. The true value in your work is measured by the impact that it has on the minds of those persons who read your book and the social change that it can bring about. So, alternate views did what it's supposed to do. Alternate views help to awaken the minds of those persons who were asleep. Alternate views, uh, we were criticized, we were challenged. Even the Prime Minister of Barbados attempted to disavow some of the facts that we wrote. Mm. So we want to say thank you uh, very much. Yes, thank you very much. We express our utmost gratitude, and that video is ready now. So we just want to play
Good
some of
morning,
it for
all.
you.
I am Stuart, and I'm reporting to you live from Dublin, Ireland at the Emergent Ventures Conference. We're here on the sidelines, and I wanted to say thank you guys very much for your support. Alternate Views, the book and podcast, has been selected as one of the transformative emergent ventures, which was a short list for persons all over the world. So we've been recognized as a leader in economic development and a leader of transformative social change. So we just wanted to update you and let you know what was going on. So we attended the conference, and we want to acknowledge all of those persons who have supported alternate views. And I wish to say thank you to you all, and to acknowledge persons like Mr. Dindo Calendar, Mr. Margot Trent Calendar, Dr. Dennis Lowe, and all of those other persons who would have contributed to alternate views. So I just want to update you, the Barbadian public, as to the alternate views being selected as a global thought driver, and say that I wish to express my utmost gratitude to you all who watch alternate views and who bought alternate views, the book. I'm doing my country proud, and I'm doing my school, the St. Michael's School, very proud. So I thank you guys very much, and I look forward to your continued support of alternate views, the brand. So goodbye, and thank you all very much. I will update you as time will. But Kimar Stuart live from.
Yes, I'm not sure the volume was up to scratch, but uh, that was a clip from the conference that we would have attended um this weekend. So we want to display some of the photos from here in Ireland. Mhm. Yes. So as you can see here, we have persons. Yes, we have persons here in this picture. I can identify most of the countries. The guy who's sitting uh, most close to the screen, he is from Uganda in Africa. Uh, Also, the guy standing, he's from Africa as well, Uganda. Uh, the lady who is sitting uh, next to me, she is from Saint Lucia. The guy who's sitting on the right, he is from China. The guy at the back, he's also from Barbados, far left, and the guy next to him is from Africa. The guy, Caucasian guy standing at the back, he is from Chicago, Illinois, in America. And this other person here, he is from uh, America, St. Lucia. Okay? And these were also some of the participants over the last couple of days uh, in the conference. So we just want to say a congratulations to them as well. Uh, we had a really great time networking, and we had a really great time spreading our different ideas. Uh, yes. So we also had persons from South Africa. So I would have taken the time to market Barbados, and the lady holding the Barbados flag, she is from South Africa. So we want to say thank you very much to those persons who would have shown interest in what Barbados had to offer. Uh, those persons who those persons who were interested in alternate views and what we had to offer. Yes. So we did some content. We even went into the Irish pub and experienced what life was like in the pub. So I just want to show you that photo as well. So this guy here, if you remember, he is from Uganda. The lady next to me, she is from Kenya. And the guy here, the Caucasian guy, he is from America. Right? And this here enjoyable, a really enjoyable time. Now let's get down to deep conversation. First I want to discuss the journey from the Caribbean to Europe. What it takes to get here. First you have to book your ticket online, as you would know, and in booking that ticket online, then you travel to England, or what you call London Heathrow Airport, and then you do a transfer flight. Right? You do a transfer flight from London Heathrow Airport into Europe. Now, we often speak about tourism, right? But we mainly focus on tourism coming into Barbados. But we hardly focus on tourism going out of Barbados. And the same way you go out, you come in. So, how accessible is Barbados to tourists around the world? How accessible is Barbados from Europe? Right? There were two flight options available to get into Europe, and those two flight options again were one, flying to London Heathrow and doing a connecting flight, or two, flying from Barbados to Canada and then taking a flight from Canada into Europe. But that takes an extensive amount of time, and therefore the flight would definitely be too long. So the best option is to come through London Heathrow and then do a connecting flight over into Europe. No, here here in Dublin, uh, and in Europe, travel is fairly reasonable. So therefore, flight tickets are like £30, like £40, £50, even £100, as compared to a ticket from Barbados uh, to England, which roughly comes up to about 4,000 Barbados dollars, depending on the time and season that you book this ticket. So travel in Europe is fairly easy uh, in terms of flights because of its close, well, not necessarily closeness, but the connectivity and the availability of flights at a very reasonable cost. So in Ireland, there are two major airlines. Ryanair, I'm going to put them in the chat. Right? There are two major airlines, which is Ryanair and Aer Lingus. Hmm. No, Aer Lingus is or was a government-owned airline, similar to how you had Air Jamaica and you have JetBlue who belongs to New York. Uh, I can't remember any of the other Caribbean airlines that were owned by indigenous countries. Uh, so Aer Lingus was owned by the Irish government until the Irish government privatized. They privatized their airline. So Aer Lingus, which is the national airline of Ireland, has been privatized and it is run by a private international air agency. However, the rates for the flights are still heavily subsidized and it allows persons to travel from Ireland into Europe fairly easy and extremely reasonable cost. No, we often look at CARICOM. We look at the fact that in Antigua, Prime Minister Gaston Brown would have announced that Liat 2020 has taken flight, right? And we can all remember the issues associated with Liat and the reason for Liat crashing, right? So we often say that travel around the Caribbean is not cheap, is not reasonable, and therefore Liat tends not to be profitable because of the price charge. Now, I'm here to argue against that and say that if major airlines, right, that if major airlines like Aer Lingus in in Ireland and Ryanair in Ireland and the other European airlines charging £30 per ticket. Why can't the Caribbean? Why can't the Caribbean have reasonable airlift and reasonable ticket prices as compared to the arm and leg that they want to charge citizens to travel the Caribbean? Now, based off my experience here in Europe, I am I am actually my a myth was shattered in my mind, and eh, this myth, right, is that cheap flights are impossible to maintain. That is totally false, based off the experience that I've had here in Europe. Right? Yes, sugarcane. Well, I don't have enough time to go over to Belfast. However, I got some information in terms of chatting with some of the residents here, and I was made to understand that Ireland's divided into two, which is Northern Ireland, and travel into Belfast is fairly easy. You do it by bus or whatever transportation means. Um, However, there are some restrictions. There are some restrictions still happening. eh, There are some restrictions still happening as it relates to travel into Belfast. But because of logistics and because of the fact that we had specific agendas going on, we were not able to travel into to Belfast. But there's always the next time that we're going to travel over there. But we have to go deeper into Europe. Uh, but we're definitely going to take that consideration on board. Uh, I am looking for a photo to show you that there are quite a few similarities as it relates to the terrain over here and the terrain in the Caribbean. Mm. So I was making a point though, and this point is that Caribbean governments are ripping off its people by their inability to have a fully functioning airline at reasonable cost to ensure that regional travel is successful. Right? There's also a ferry system from Ireland to Scotland, as quite a few of the residents in Scotland do travel over to Ireland, and that ferry system seems to be very effective. I know that Barbados and the Caribbean has been speaking about implementing a ferry system. Uh, and Trinidad has declared that they are willing to, they are willing to provide the ferries, right? However, the seas in those parts of the world are very rough, so we wait to see how effective it could be. But Trinidad being an oil producing nation, which is close to Venezuela, um, there could be some perceived benefit if it is managed properly. However, we know how things are in the Caribbean. Now, we have a question from Square 4 who's asking how the prices in the supermarket. Well, yes, I got to do some shopping, and Dublin City is a very expensive city. It's much similar to Barbados. Uh, a train ride, and I could show you the train as well, but a train ride is approximately 11 pound, which works out to be mm, let me just say about $33, 32, $33. That's Barbados dollars, but 11 pound. Uh, so that is quite expensive for a Barbadian. But I guess if you're living and working here in Ireland, right? If you're living and working here in Ireland and you make the money, um, I guess you could be able to sustain train rides and bus rides. No, bus fare is fairly cheap. Bus fare here is like $2 and some it works out to be approximately $6, $6. And bus fare in Barbados is only 350. So I've them say let me say this. I've developed a new appreciation for Barbados. I've developed a new appreciation for what we have at home, right? And to say that I can pay $3.50 Barbados and travel to any part of the country via bus, but uh in Europe, that is not so, right? So we often tend to want to trade life at home uh for life in these parts of the world, not realizing how good we have it. Now, let us take a moment to say that the infrastructure in Europe is substantially better than in the Caribbean. So you have much sturdier buildings, much taller buildings, much more beautiful buildings, nice architecture, um, better roads, proper sanitation, higher standards of housing, and better quality of products in the supermarkets and so. Uh, However, you need to have a proper job and proper income to be able to afford living in these parts of the world. Rents are not necessarily the cheapest. Food in the supermarket uh, is wow, you know. But if you live here and you earn European dollars, it is seemingly okay. But depending on which parts of uh the island you are, things tend to become cheaper. So as you go more into the countryside, things become a bit cheaper than directly into the city. So as you know, in the Caribbean, our people do not necessarily live directly into the cities. We live on the outskirts of the city. So if you look at Bridgetown, the residents in Bridgetown live Nelson Street, that is the outskirts. New Orleans, outskirts. Green Park Lane, Chapman Street, outskirts. Right? But in Dublin and other parts of Europe, the citizens actually live in the city. So an example of that is, let's just say if you walk down Broad Street, and you go up the Tim's restaurant stairs, there are houses up there, right? So as opposed to it being all malls and commercial stores, housing is a natural occurrence in the cities. So you would have, and I guess the closest example to that of persons living in the city is Sutton Street. So happening right now in Sutton Street, we have a mass migration, right? A mass migration of Haitian nationals, right? Haitian nationals living in the commercial buildings in Bridgetown, right? Now, I'm not sure how warm Barbadians would be to the idea of living in buildings in the cities, but the idea is being touted under the Bridgetown Redevelopment Project, and there were policies coming down from the government of Barbados to put people in the Treasury building, the old Treasury building. There's an intention to turn that into a housing project, right? So the government is using the European type model as a new means of developing the city of Bridgetown. Now, Let me just say that for me, Bridgetown is a city that starts around our commercial activity. Well, let me just backtrack that. The public transportation system in Barbados uh, becomes fully functional about 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And mainly you get trips coming into the city of persons commuting to other parts of the island, etc., etc. Now, commercial activity in terms of stores and other vending and trading merely starts around 8:30, right? And from 8:30 till about 5 o'clock at evenings, 5:30, those are the opening hours of our major commercial city, which is Bridgetown. So, persons argue that Bridgetown has become a derelict city. Not much is going on. Many persons are shopping in other commercial spaces like Warren's and Sheraton Center and other commercial thing. But my experience here taught me that Bridgetown can be revitalized in a very serious and meaningful way. Right? There's no way that a small city like Bridgetown should not be clean 24 hours a day. It happens right here in Dublin, right? So I saw sanitation workers and waste haulers walking with big garbage cans, cleaning every couple of hours, half hours, whatever. Um, I see, these things happen. So Bristol should be clean. Bristol should be clean, 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 and there's no excuse why piles of garbage should be heaping up in Bridgetown. If a massive city like Dublin can have their city top tier and spick and span and clean, eh? We bought garbage trucks, and those garbage trucks, many of which are not functioning at the moment, by the way. And this is because of mismanagement at the Sanitation Service Authority and mismanagement of the funds, on top of the fact that the Barbados Water Authority has not been paying over the sanitation component of the garbage and sewage tax. So Water Authority has been keeping all of the money and not giving it over to sanitation. And then on top of that, government intends to privatize sanitation as well. Eh, Anytime you privatize a good like sanitation, then it becomes a profit oriented business, and then residents have to pay for garbage collection. We're already paying for the garbage collection in terms of garbage and sewage tax, and it's still not efficient. Right? So, if Europe could be so clean, they have the same trucks as us, right? They have the same waste management system as us, but it just comes down to proper management of the entity, stopping out nepotism. Mm. Because governments, and I dare say both governments that Barbados had, use the Sanitation Service Authority as a hole to hire people. Just put anybody in sanitation and give them a job. That's basically what it is. But waste management is actually a viable career, right? And in Europe, waste haulers and sanitation workers are paid at their best. Hmm? The benefits of being a sanitation worker are immense, and that is why persons are finding it very easy to enter into waste management in these parts of the world, and are very happy and proud to do their jobs. And as a result, Dublin City, I went up to Skerries Town, Scotland, Romania, Belarus. All parts of Europe are spick, span, and clean, free of garbage. I have not seen a pileup of garbage since I've been here, anywhere, in any city that I've been to. So why can't a small matchbox country like Barbados can't seem to get the issue of sanitation down pat in the city? Eh? So at the opening hours of 8:30 to 5, and then by the time 6 o'clock, Bridgetown is like a ghost town. Bridgetown is shut down at about 5:36. Shut down. In these parts of Europe, uh, I guess fortunately or unfortunately, life in the city goes on way into the when it is 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, 9:30, outside is still very bright like 12 o'clock. Right? So right now it is approximately 12:47 at night. So we have broken into Friday already. I know it's only about 7:47 in Barbados, but it only recently got dark. It, it only recently got dark here. And persons are out in the city walking up and down all around, going into the bars, drinking Guinness, drinking Henneken, drinking, eating, having meetings, socializing. That at 9 o'clock at night, but it was not going to be night. It's going to be high sunlight. But 9 p.m. while the sun is still out, you can walk out of your house and go into the city and stop by a bar, stop by a restaurant. You are guaranteed to see life. But Bridgetown, Spikestown, whole whole well, I don't even call them city. We have one city in my opinion, that's Bridgetown. The rest are towns. So Oistins Town, Spikestown, Whole Town, but they're not cities. Bridgetown is our only city. Now I want to show you a clip of a city that I know that is a harbor. We have Lawrence St. Pierre from a resident of the city in Bridgetown. Says, hi, bro. I ain't see you. Now I know where you are. Keep it together. Yes, Fonzo, I am actually in Europe at the moment. I know you've not been seeing me, but I'm over here. So, as soon as I get back, I would pay a visit, and we continue to have those good conversations as we usually do. Right? So I would have visited that harbor, which is in a town, or we call it town city. And I want to show you it one more time so that activity, right? Oistins in Barbados is reserved for coming and buying fish and chips and watching some performances on the debate. So you have $5 million spent to upgrade Oistins, which was then destroyed by Hurricane Beryl. Hmm? I know the government has to spend more money to upgrade Oistins. Upgrade what and to where? You mean just splurge money? Because I have not seen any upgrades. Hey. So, if you're really looking at upgrading Oistins, you need a residential belt in Oistins. Hey. You need a proper jetty. The jetty needs to be repaired. And if you, I mean, I may not know the history so deep, but I can remember enough where countless boats used to come and dock at Oistins, boats coming in from Trinidad with oil and all types of things docking at Oistins. But the commercial activity of Oistins has been severely on the decline. Whole town. What happens at Whole town? Whole town is supposed to be our bourgeoisie city, the fancy tourists, Besides a couple of hotels, what happens in Whole town? Not much. Um, is there anything substantial about Whole town? Lime Grove? Hey, so I say all of that to say that our governments need to refocus, right? Our governments need to refocus because there are models out there which the government can uh, follow, but we don't just want to, you know, follow pattern anybody. We want to come up with a model, a development model, which is unique to Barbados, which suits our landscape, which suits our terrain, which suits the style of the people. Right? Because we don't just want another town where we set it up for tourists and tourists come and live. And I'm gonna let y'all in on a little secret, but Miami Beach is on the track. Miami Beach is on the track. So the area where you have the Oistins police station and the post office, that area we usually park to go into Miami Beach, all of that has been sold for hotel developments. So the old Oistins police station and that entire Mountain Peak, hotels are going to be built there. Do we really need that? Right? And as usual, right? And as usual, the locals continue to be excluded from these type of investment opportunities. Right? The thing that I like about European cities is that the residents usually live in and around all of the activity. So if we take the European model and we apply it to some place like Oistins, the people who live in and around Oistins, the people who own the fishing boats, the people who operate the food stalls, who sell the craft, they are the ones who control the commercial activity. Tourists and investors cannot come in and buy up these coastlines and buy up these towns. They belong to the locals. So the locals are the ones who develop them. The locals are the ones who own the Airbnbs. The locals are the ones who own the hotels. But for some reason, I am putting my hand on a specific government. all governments in the Caribbean believe that they have to sell our prime land and prime real estate to non-nationals. It is a disease that Caribbean governments have, where they believe that the foreign dollar is the better dollar, but that is short-term thinking and very myopic thinking that has not worked for us. Mm. Y'all think that I am exaggerating about this? No. Alternative views is based on the truth. So I will make a claim here, and I don't necessarily care whose toes I run over with this one. But just look at Sandals. Look at what Sandals is doing to the Barbados economy. Sandals is sending home hundreds of workers. This is Sandals that has extensive concessions, tax-free rates, the ability to import back down to strawberries, VAT-free and tax-free. But then at every opportunity, they send home workers. They refuse to pay out severance. They put workers on contract. The treatment, the treatment, the treatment of the treatment of workers just paltry. So those type of concessions that were given to Sandals. So who needs to hear this needs to hear this. Those type of concessions that were given to Sandals is a race to the bottom. Right? A race, right? A race to the bottom. Right? And governments need to stop, stop, haul and pull again, stop giving out the type of concessions that were given to Sandals to operate in countries, and the only thing that these large hotels provide is income for the people who work there. But let us not make way about it. These specific hotels then turn around and bring in non-nationals from their country of origin to take the highest who are paid in Barbados in foreign currency, tax free, and then repatriate that money out of Barbados. So Barbados does not benefit from giving away those type of concessions. They don't benefit. So I don't care who's angry. I don't care who toes I run over. I don't care who was the best this. I don't care who was the best that and which party was in. It is rubbish. But that is the development that we like in the Caribbean. That is the development that we like in the Caribbean. Give away all of the taxpayer benefits to large multinational brands. I'm sure those hundreds of people who are going home now, who I believe were working low income jobs in those hotels, so cooks, maids, bartenders, uh, bellboys, cause they don't really send home the top level management really. Right? So that type of plantation slavery all over again is what governments of the Caribbean pride themselves on. Concessions, 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 concessions. Right? It is a race to the bottom, and the country does not benefit. I don't care how much branding you tell me about. Oh, we have this big brand in our a big brand does nothing for us. These big brands do nothing for us. And what these hotels continue to do is when you make bookings, the revenue does not touch Barbados. So a majority of the revenues that hotels gain from bookings, they don't come into Barbados. They have shell companies and holders companies in Miami, and all of the profits are stored overseas. So why are they still here? A small, locally owned hotel, it could be a family owned hotel, it could be a hotel, but a locally owned hotel, once managed properly, is way more beneficial to the Barbados economy than some big brand hotel that just bring a brand name to Barbados but no hardly any monetary benefits. Because these hotels then come here and disregard all of the labor rules. So they don't acknowledge the labor office. And these hotels provide extensive campaign financing to government ministers who they bribe to you know block severance payment hearings and change the law for them, take the labor minister and twirl him around like for campaign financing. So we need a different model. Sandals can't happen again in Barbados. Let me change that. The type of benefits that were given to sandals cannot happen again in Barbados for any hotel brand. Right. No, Square 4 is saying that both parties give sandals good concessions. Square 4, that's not true. Sandals came here under the Democratic Labour Party administration. Democratic Labour Party. We speak the truth on alternate views. We speak the truth on alternate views. Sandals was supposed to build another hotel at Haywoods. You don't even want to see the concessions on that one. You don't even want to see the concessions on sandals that was built at Haywoods. Do your research. Don't take my word for it. Also, let me say it here. Whoever wants to take my opinion and politicize them, so be it. That's not my problem. My thing is to bring the truth to the people. Check out the concessions that were given to the Haywoods Hotel and get the facts as to why that hotel was not built. Right? We like to brag, but we like to boast and brag about the wrong things. Right? Shying away from it and not wanting to call a spade will not change anything. It will not help anything. It could be BLP or DLP in power. Barbados first. Taxpayers bleed. Right? So we're not pulling punches tonight because I have a fire burning in me. Know that we're over here in Europe and recognizing that Caribbean governments have been holding out on their people. They're not investing in their people. They rather take big brands who do nothing for the countries and give them the whole washpan of concessions. Right? Look at the hotel industry. The concessions that Sandals were given completely lopsided the tourism industry in Barbados. The small hotels of Barbados do not have the concessions that Sandals have. The local hotels in Barbados do not have the concessions that Sandals have. Sandy Lane, a five diamond resort, do not have the concessions that Sandals has. Right? So to get change, first you have to speak the truth. I call it for what it is. Right? Call it for what it is. Hyatt Hotel. more concessions again. Hey, if you didn't know, there's something called a fiscal incentives bill. Right? Fiscal incentives bill that was repealed in Barbados. Right? It was repealed. It was removed at the direction of the IMF because this fiscal incentives bill, right? We just get it here up for you. Just get it here for you. No. Now let us read this article from the Trade Center at UE. It said, amidst much debate, the Barbados Parliament recently voted to repeal the Island Fiscal Incentives Act with effect from the 2nd of January 2019. And the ostensible reason was to bring Barbados into conformity with its obligations under the World Trade Organization and in particular the agreement on subsidies and countervailing measures. In short, the agreement prohibits WTO countries from providing illegal subsidies in the form of grants, incentives, or tax write-offs to domestic industries. As this act was passed to encourage economic development by stimulating the product of locally manufactured goods for export, its repeal has raised deep concerns about Barbados' ability to attract investors and broader implications for the economy. Right? So let me repeat that part for you. It says that the agreement prohibits countries under the World Trade Organization from providing illegal subsidies in the form of grants, incentives, or tax write-offs to domestic industries. Right? So I hope you hear that. So it says here that when the Fiscal Incentives Act was passed in 1974, it brought into force a CARICOM agreement on the harmonization of fiscal incentives to the industry of 1973. And among the objectives of CARICOM agreement was the harmonization of fiscal incentives to the manufacturing industries among Caribbean member states to avoid what they call a race to the bottom. So you see the same rhetoric coming back again in the form of tax incentives to foreign investors. So under the Fiscal Incentives Act, Barbados has provided incentives to a number of domestic and foreign companies since the act came into effect, and these included Caribbean LED Lighting, Preconco, Meriden Caribbean, Deltro, to name a few. And the incentives under this act, however, contain World Trade Organization inconsistent export subsidies. That is those tied to export performance, as well as domestic content subsidies. So it said although Barbados, like other developing countries, was for a long time exempted from the requirement under the SCM agreement to remove these illegal subsidies, as of the 31st of December 2015, again, it was required to repeal these subsidies. For as long as it does not do so, Barbados faces the risk of being brought by another World Trade Organization member before the World Trade Organization dispute settlement body. So it says here that Barbados' requirement to remove the illegal subsidy may smack of hypocrisy and imperialism by this big multilateral organization. But I don't want to get too. Mhm. Right. So that's basically the gist of it, right? Fiscal incentives. So sandals, right? Sandals, right? Sandals would have been a benefactor of major fiscal incentives. Hmm. Major fiscal incentives. And now that the fiscal incentives bill was repealed, we saw the hauling and pulling of the Hills project. So were these hotels really interested in Barbados? Or were they interested in the incentives that they were getting? Hey, or were they interested in the benefits they were getting? We need to disavow our minds of the fact that businesses are in the business of charity. They are not. Sandals is not in the business of charity. These hotels are not in the business of charity. They're in the business of profit. And we somehow need to think that, oh, these people want to help Barbados. No, they don't want to help Barbados. They want to make money out of Barbados. But they want to create unfair playing fields. Right? So let's look at it. Sandals not paying tax for what was it about, I think it was about 25 tax to your tax rate or so. Do you know what is 25 years without collecting income tax? Do you know what is 25 years without collecting value added tax? Hmm? You know it's 24 years without collecting import duties from a hotel that's import every single thing down to the butter spot they use. But local hotels do not receive those same benefits. But let me pause there for now. I want to take some comments here. I want to take some comments here. So Simon Dial is saying it would seem that the government intends to shift the central business district from Bridgetown. Not so. Yes, that is very true. Mhm. They strategically killed Bridgetown. As you know, if you know the history of Bridgetown, if you look at the ownership structure of the buildings in Bridgetown and you look at majority of the commercial stores, you will see that the ownership of Bridgetown has changed substantially. Right? The ownership has changed substantially, and with persons living further and further out, and people moving commercial businesses out, you had new developments like Six Roads and the building of commercial centers in Six Roads. Um, you got you had Stone developed to a point, but it's still not substantial enough. Again, you have Sheraton, you have Warrens, um, and you have some other commercial type districts emerging, and more mid-tier in the island. Right then, you have the Lears business park. I don't know who, if any of y'all went down Lears lately, but there's a massive industrialization going on, in Baby's Lane, Lears Plantation. I don't know if you guys are seeing any of that. FX Trading maybe is saying good night. Congratulations, I bid you. Yeah. Simon was saying Stone is a good model for that. Those heritage buildings should be preserved and revamped for forced living. Good idea. Says the all tanker still comes. Square 4 is saying you are right, Kimar. It was a bustling fishing town, Oistins. It was alive now, it's for eating and dancing. Yeah, spending money, spending all the money. Is no money earner for the people who live there. It's turning into a fully consumption economy. The hotel industry is saturated. We need to stop with that. Why is one administration allowed to sell off so much land? Why is the land not leased? I want y'all to start saying one at a particular administration. This is a government problem. This is a government problem. Not one. If the government changed tomorrow, the same thing will happen. Sorry, but the same thing is going to happen. The major homes in Oistins have been bought out. We have KFC, Chefette, and gambling facilities. Yeah, and much more homes are going to be bought out when those new hotel developments come to Oistins. Yeah. Shirley said in the past, Baxter's Road and Robert Streets were areas of residence. This can be encouraged for Barbadians again. Yeah, well, people can live in the city again. It happens all over the world. No two people like that. The BLP government told me quite recently, one only last month, that their journey from Oistins to Bridgetown and they couldn't see the sea. Told them only last month someone told me that. That's true. Hotel after hotel after hotel after hotel after hotel, blocking up the entire space. To me, Sandals doesn't fit with the Barbados brand of exclusivity. It doesn't make sense to start. Good night to you, Rhonda Paris. Hope everything is well. Both parties give Sandals good concessions. Allegedly, they get the most from the present government. The son was not given. Well, I to tell you square for I disagree with this. The present government didn't give Sandals any concessions. Sandals was already a fully functioning hotel within the government got into power. And if we're being fair and factual, the Heroes project did not go ahead under this particular government. It was going ahead under the last one. So just to clear it as a fact, we deal with facts. Someone is saying give concessions to electric car makers, food and agriculture companies, garment manufacturing. No concessions for saturated hotel industry. Say who in the food chain is benefiting from Barbados being swamped with hotel brands that do not enrich our economy. Lawyers, 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 lawyers. Hey, Tim Ward is saying good night from Guelph, Ontario, Canada. Welcome, Tim. Very much appreciate it. Glad to see you on the show. Eh, Esther Blue is saying good night. Hi Esther. Mhm. Square 4 is saying that, which is I assume but Stuart said awful things about Barbados when he was at a tourism conference in either the Bahamas or Jamaica some years ago. He said our country Blake don't invest here. I read it in the nation news. Whoa. Hmm. I said same Bridgetown will soon be a concrete jungle. In my opinion, some of these buildings look like warehouses to store food in. Hmm. Oh, that is so because Barbados, if you look at the old structure of commercial Bridgetown and how our city function, um, a lot of those old manufacturing buildings went to providing exports into the UK. Uh, a lot of locals, particularly like the wealthier ones at the time, had direct relationships with people in Europe, so they were able to manufacture, do a lot of like manufacturing to export, and Bridgetown was a transshipment point for further Europe. So a lot of ships came here. Um, we should read on the history of Lord Nelson and Trafalgar Square. Um, I think the former Prime Minister from the Stuart spoke extensively to uh, the port of Bridgetown being one of the major shipment hubs for the UK. As you remember, we were a colony of England, and therefore they used the Bridgetown port to do a lot of their business. But I know it seems like we've moved away from a lot of those commercial activities which were set to give us money, and we are now merely into the consumptive practices. We just consume, 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 consume. Like, so that's enough about Barbados' tourism product. Let's look at Ireland and Europe's tourism product. So, being here as a tourist, I stayed in a hotel, right? And this specific hotel, everything was good. It was directly in the city again, and I was able to come out on the road, walk the road. So it was a different experience. I lived in the city in Bridgetown at one point, and I lived in the countryside, in St. George at one. I mean, more than I live in the city, but so I had the experience of both. I also went into the countryside and we stayed up in the countryside for a bit as well. So we saw the difference in tourism, how tourism is practiced in cities in Europe versus the countryside in Europe. Right? The airport. The airport in Dublin is directly in the city. Right? Meanwhile, the airport in Barbados is Christchurch, right? There's hardly any economic activity surrounding the Grantley Adams International Airport. And I'm not talking about a Banks bar. Mm-mm. The only hotel close by the airport is Miss Ram, right? But there are a lot of hostels and other boarding arrangements close by to hotels that if you have to, get a stay over somewhere that it is fairly easy to get one. Um, but Barbados is small enough that the airport is half hour to anywhere in Barbados, so you don't necessarily have to model it similar to a more developed country because we know we're not on the status, we don't have the same resources or anything to do that. But what I'm saying is when you leave the airport, there's no type of commercial activity for a tourist whatsoever. There's a lot of commercial activity in the airports in Europe because they're fairly big. One, they open 24 hours and there are a lot of different shops and a lot of different things happening within the airports here in Europe. The Grantley Adams International Airport, in my opinion, is not up to the standard that these other airports are at. And that is probably why the government is intended on upgrading the Barbados airport in a PPP arrangement, leasing out the Grantley Adams International Airport to the Sheikh of Dubai and to Universal SA in Chile. But I'm not in agreement with leasing out the airport. I think the government could maintain control over the airport and get investment. The government don't need to be giving away the airport to nobody. Right? So the airport is definitely in need of upgrades to international standards. I see that there is some construction going on at the airport right now, which is I don't know exactly what's happening, but I saw some things while it was leaving Barbados. And when it got here, when it got London and it got Dublin, and I started to see the standards of their airports. My experience, I mean, I am a tourist in these parts, right? But my experience was rather eye-opening. Right? So Barbados really needs to do better, right? Barbados needs to start thinking about the 166 square mile border that we have, and we need to stop trying to compete with Antigua and compete with Jamaica. I want to say this again. Caribbean governments continue to fail their people. My solution that I'm going to put forward, right? This is my solution, right? We need to come up with what is the best idea for a future Caribbean, and not a divided Caribbean, but a united Caribbean. Let us start with that idea. Let us start to develop what a future Caribbean is like. Because when I come to Europe, it's very easy for me to hop from one country to another, either by ferry, either by cheap air flights or cheap air whatever, and I could get over to any country in Europe in the click of a finger. These Caribbean countries are much closer and much smaller than a lot of these European countries. So wait, you know why it cost me almost $1,000 to go from here to St. Vincent or to Trinidad, that couple kilometers away, but I could hop on a plane and come from and go from Dublin all down to Spain, all down to Moldova, all down to Germany for 30 and 40 pounds. To come, nah, 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 uh-uh. The Caribbean is a package. The Caribbean should be a package, right? And Barbados could and should be developed. Barbados could be the Heathrow of the Caribbean, right? Barbados could be the Heathrow of the Caribbean. Barbados could be the spot that all of the major airlines come here and land, and then it's very easy to take a connecting flight into any Caribbean country for $100, for $200. But I gotta pay $1,000 and rubbish, rubbish. So I will never, ever, 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 ever accept from, I don't care which Caribbean Prime Minister is, I will never, ever accept that regional travel is not possible. And I will tell you all this. One of the main reasons, right? One of the main reasons why Caribbean travel was not successful is because these leeching Caribbean governments use the taxes of Liat to finance their budgets. So when there were heads of government meetings for CARICOM, these prime ministers would get in the room and say, "Oh well, we will agree to drop. They agree to drop no taxes. You know why? Because they are benefiting from it, and take the taxes collected from Liat and use it to run their own countries and run their own governments. And they don't want to give up the revenues. And that is the sole reason why Liat crashed. Because of selfish Caribbean prime ministers. And I will say 1,000 times, selfish Caribbean prime ministers run Liat in the ground, mash it up. Because they don't want to reduce the taxes on tickets for Liat. Right? They don't want to reduce the taxes on the thing for Liat. But regional travel could be cheap because these big countries running massive big Boeing jets and stuff like that, 30, 40 pounds. And sometimes these planes don't even be half full. These don't even be half full. But they are lying to the people. I'll say Caribbean prime ministers are lying to the people. Telling them about regional travel and the price of it and the this and the that. No, y'all just corrupt. Corrupt. I will not stop taking the taxpayers' money to do what y'all feel like and siphon it off into the pockets of your friends. I'm not saying all. Some Caribbean prime ministers and they know exactly who they are and they could get as angry as they want with Kemar Stuart, but they will say y'all need calling out when y'all mash up Liat because y'all don't want the Caribbean to come together. You don't want the Caribbean to unite. You telling me I gotta pay $1,000 to go from here to St. Lucia, and I can hop on the plane, Aer Lingus or Ryanair for £30 and travel anywhere in Europe? Caribbean prime ministers? Oh, I mean, I'm sorry to be getting so passionate. We're not getting really passionate about this, cause this is hurting my heart. Like, it's cheaper for us to travel to New York. It's cheaper for us to get to Europe and travel all over, but I can't travel from here to Trinidad. And furthermore, when you get on the plane so old and breakdown. And y'all want to charge people arm and leg to travel upon an old breakdown plane that you don't even feel safe when you get on it. And that's what y'all pride yourself on. Eh? Make Barbados the regional hub for travel. Any connecting flight, any major airplane in the world can land at the Grant Adams International Airport. Grant Adams International Airport is one of the best airports in, well, I don't want to say the world, but this side of the hemisphere. Right? This is a good point by Lawrence St. Pierre that this is why World Cup didn't have the amount of people because of the airline tickets were the main hindrance to people coming to the islands. That is because these wicked, leeching Caribbean governments, right, are still reducing the taxes on the air flights to allow people to move freely and move easier. That you could get tourists coming from St. Lucia, St. Vincent, all over the Caribbean coming into Barbados for cheap. The stadiums would have been packed. Right? Think about it. If let's go back to Red Jet. Let's go back to Red Jet. Red Jet was one of the most successful short-term wonders ever in the history of the Caribbean. And look at what the powers that be did to Red Jet. Crash it in the ground. You know where it was crashing the ground? Again, leeching Caribbean prime ministers got together and with whoever short-sighted that Red Jet will put them out of business. You know why? Because they can't collect the taxes off Red Jet that they collect off Liat. Right? So if we can get an arrange, this is my idea that I pushing. I don't care who steals it. I don't care who take it. I pass that no. I speak my truth. Alternate Views is a global thought driver for economic and social change, and that's exactly what we are going to do. We are willing to step on toes. We are willing to run over anybody's toes to speak the truth in this country. Right? No, suspicious minds is saying that if you're looking to be a leader with a difference, you need to control your emotions. Now, I am offended by this because I'm not emotional, just passionate. If you know me, you know that I don't get emotional. So I will take offense to that. If you know me, you know that I don't get emotional. I get passionate, right? I get passionate, right? And passionate means that I will not hold back the truth. It needs to be said. These things need to be spoken. We need to start soft soaping the issue and tell any of these Caribbean leaders the truth. Well, suspicious minds, I don't really want to get into a debate about what's the difference between passion and emotion. So, are you need me to be a straight faced, bland, well, nah, that's dead. That is dead. That is dead. I'm being very diplomatic, speaking the truth, passionate about what I'm saying, putting the facts on the table. I know, but we're not gonna argue on that. But thanks for tuning in to Alternate Views. I appreciate the feedback. But do not try to temper my passion on this. Because I will not hold up. And I'm serious. We just only want to focus on a one administration. Right? We tend to focus on the one administration. We're looking at the structure of politics, right? We're looking at the structure of politics that if the BLP getting, the DLP getting, if the FNM getting, if the PLP getting, if the GLP getting, if the PNP getting, if the NMP getting, if the NDC getting, it's the same exact thing. So regardless of which political administration you seem to put in the Caribbean, the same ideologies always exist. It is not working for us anymore. It is not working for us anymore. This is a Caribbean wide thing now. Hey, I am have gotten to the point, right? Where it's no longer speculation. Where it's no longer speculation. Right? There's no longer speculation. That I don't know where they meet. I don't know how they talk. I don't know what they do. But it just seems to me that the ideas, right? That the ideas that come forward from the Caribbean are not helping to progress the Caribbean. Right? So I will not sit here and allow people to only no my I beat her up too. I share my licks. But I will not allow people to only beat up Barbados' Prime Minister. Right? Let's look at CARICOM. Look at the CARICOM as a government. Look at the fact that we spend millions a year. Our CARICOM has a government for nothing. We have a CARICOM ambassador, does nothing. prime ministers go to carry on heads of government. Whatever comes out to carry on for the people, we can't even get a functioning airline in this region. They're talking about ferries, really ferries. So how are you talking about trade, increased economic development, increased opportunity? Uh, we getting in all these deals with Guyana and St. Vincent and all these deals. But how are you going to do it if you can't connect? How are we going to do this if we can't get from here to Guyana? But it's much easier for me to come to Europe and build the European economy. Things down here are not cheap, so you have to spend a lot of money to just be here for for a bit. Right? So I am over the Rabscrav offering that I am getting, and if I was not a strong person, I would have probably left Barbados, probably left the Caribbean. And being here in Europe for this short while would encourage me to leave the Caribbean based off the comparisons that I see. And in the sessions that we had this week, it was a common mention. It was a common mention that the best talent leaves the Caribbean every year. The best minds that we have leave the Caribbean for greener pastures in Europe, America, Canada. Because what does the Caribbean have to offer them? Right? I had to come to all Europe for alternate views to be recognized because a wannabe leader of a political party could be tossing my book across the office and say can't sell in here. Right? So by experience, by practice, we do everything to run the best people out of the region. We're not doing anything to keep them, and that is why the countries are doing this. Populations declining, people are leaving, people are not having children because they can't afford to have the children. So they come to places like Dublin and England and deeper Spain and these different economies that could help them to realize the best that they have to offer. Because certainly Barbados ain't it. Clearly Barbados ain't it. So I say all of that to say I love my country, Barbados. I love the Caribbean. But what we have for leadership is not cutting it. And I'm not just speaking about Bridgetown, but the entire Caribbean is not cutting it. It's not cutting it. Not negating the fact that there are some leaders in the Caribbean that are good. I like some, I won't call any specific names. But I'm talking about overall mentality of leadership. Right? I like Gaston Brown. I was call his name. I like Gaston Brown. I could say that. Right? I think Gaston Brown is a firm, strong prime minister. Right? Right. So my thing is here, right? the mentality and the mindset as to that we have in the region, it became clear to me that it is an archaic mentality that is holding the Caribbean people back, and we need to speed up the offerings if if the Caribbean is to survive. With population decline every year becoming worse and worse and worse, the Caribbean is going to become a place of minority. Right? It's going to become a minority place. Right? And unfortunately, it takes people coming from Europe and these type of places to recognize uh the wealth of the Caribbean, and it takes people coming from overseas to have to tell us what we need to do with our own economies, with our own politics, with our own countries. I don't think that is it. We really need something else. We really need a shift. We really need a shift. We really, 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 really need a shift. Hey, we really need a shift. Hey, so right, as just mentioned about Gaston Brown. Now, why I like Gaston Brown is because I remember the whole Liat debacle, and I remember Gaston Brown speaking about Liat 2020. I know Liat 2020 is fully functional. It's in the air. It's running. So Gaston Brown had a vision. He implemented it, and he ran with it, and it's working. What has Barbados? What has Barbados done in terms of vision? The idea that we came up with and said, well, as Gaston Brown said, he had a vision for Liat 2020. He conceptualized it. He put it to people. He put it to the other thing. It didn't work the way he wanted it. He went back to the table. I know you have Liat 20. What has Barbados done that you can and say, well, Barbados had a vision, and we think, and we know we have this. What do we have? Right? What do we have? It can't be garbage trucks. It can't be buses from China. That's an achievement. That's something that a local council could do. A local council could buy and procure garbage trucks and buses anywhere. Any community council or any local council or anything like that. Any city council or anything like that. It is not a visionary on behalf of any government to be bragging about, oh, we bought garbage trucks. Oh, we bought transport board buses. Antigua Flying Airlines, man. Ah, well, Michael, man, don't try to play a devil's advocate. You know exactly what I'm speaking about. The airline was not, and it went from not to something. Is I could see a tangible plane. I'm not getting into the mechanics. I could see a tangible plane. I could see you know, I could see tangible results from Gaston, bro. Right? So People can get in and out of Antigua by plane, very comfortable. But you know what Barbados has to do? You know what the leader of Barbados does? Go and pay some boy to fly around the world on a private jet. You're gonna pay some boy to charter a private jet. Right? And we pay airlines to fly Cayman Airlines to fly 10 people from Cayman into Barbados. Waste of taxpayers' money. Right? So when you speak about vision, you need leaders with vision. You need leaders who could conceptualize ideas and bring them into a practical reality that they benefit the people. Right? We had COVID. Didn't that teach us anything? The planes stopped flying, ships. Talk about cruise ships. We took cruise ships, destroyed our reef. I know the cruise ships don't even want to dock in Barbados. Barbados is not an attractive destination. Right? So even if you get people coming, you still need to have things for them to do. Right? You still need to have life in the country. Right? In Europe, I at least feel the culture. I do not feel like I am in Barbados. I do not feel like I'm in the Caribbean. However, when I'm in the Caribbean, we tend to want to either Americanize or Europe or turn the Caribbean into Europe again. No authentic experience, right? No authentic experience. So I am saying that, right? Let me shoot my. I am saying that, right? We need to do something, and we need to do something quickly because, right, let me take some comments here from you. Uh, hmm, yeah, but I just want to make a point. I find that in the Caribbean, we take people who speak forcefully and truthfully to be uh um or aggressively. We take them to be rude or disrespectful. But being here for the short while has opened my eyes to the fact that people don't have time to waste. Time is money in these parts, and people don't have time to waste. So you need to speak the truth, say what you have to say, and say it quickly. Right? Right. All the pacifying people's feelings. We gotta get past that. We need to get past that, and we need to get to work. There's a lot of work to be done in the Caribbean. They may say I agree, totally too long. No, we all in the struggle divided. Um, Suspicious mind is saying he who is enslaved to riches cannot be trusted with money. Mm, that's a very open statement, but Sheepdog is saying we are saying like because we are in Dublin area, Sheepdog. That's why it's saying live from Dublin because that is exactly where we are in Ireland. You know? Yeah. Sean Cool is saying it doesn't matter who's in power, they will deficit spend regardless. Yeah. Marcia, unfortunately, I do not discuss partisan politics on the show, so I would not comment on the DLP or the BLP's affairs, and I'm really not sorry about that. This is an economic show. This is to help the people. This is to be a social to bring social transformation, economic, and helping to shape people's mind into a new wave, a new age of thinking. A new way. And partisan politics is not a part of that. Yeah. Well, suspicious minds. The entire world has. That's a myth. This is not fact. Um, this is not fact. I think this is not fact. There are some very well run countries in the world. So I can't agree with you on this one. Sheepdog is saying so you're essentially saying you feel your own people. I don't understand what you're saying here, Sheepdog, about me feeling my own people. I don't understand that particular uh comment. So if you wish to clear that up, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Um, Somebody saying population decline is a plan. Could be true. When it comes to handling money, humans are dishonest. Sonia Perch is saying good night to you, Sonia. Uh, Square Four is saying that is true. The Caracan ambassador gonna day to me. They late for the hatch for a window to the sea on the south coast from Oistins to Bridgetown. Then the no Caracan ambassador take up the fight. Yeah, Kimaru, Ralph, and Caswell need to get rid of. Well, I don't think that that's possible, and I don't think that's going to happen either. Um, right. Uh, Esther was agreeing with me and saying that Gaston was adamant it would be back in the year and he made it happen and I agree. Somebody is saying that they don't. They, hey, now all of a sudden he's silent against Hayat. Well, mhm. Right. These Paris Speaks things are just um talk shops. If you all didn't know, you have to give them the questions before you ask it. You just can't walk up to the mic and ask a question. They have to vet your questions before you ask them. So it's just a false charade. So don't waste your time going to these Paris Speaks. Devere Smith is saying good night. So good night to you, Devere. Um, oh, and some. Hey, yes, them they are a lot warmer with soup because they're pre-planned and pre-programmed. Mm-hmm. Those in this country are suffering haven't really come to. As the Blue is saying, this is an educational show for everyone to learn something about their livelihood. Mm. Oh, yeah, well, shoot, though, I am staying. I am not leaving my country to go and live anywhere else per se. Um, I would go and work in other countries, but I intend to live in Barbados for the rest of my life. I am not negating the fact that I would leave for work purposes and other reasons, but I intend to fight. I have been fighting. I sacrificed quite a bit, you know. I sacrificed work, I sacrificed opportunity, sacrificed going to school. I sacrificed quite a bit to stay in Barbados to fight for people. I put information out there, some rather risky things, and my life is constantly at risk by doing what I do. So, I'm, I don't necessarily not compensated, or I not. So my motivation is purely the love of people and purely the love of this country and purely the love of the Caribbean. But as Esther said, when you love something so much and it probably doesn't love you back, you have to find means and ways managing the situation, right? So I'm not leaving my country. I'm not leaving my people. I will continue to, you know, make life good for all of us, however way I can. So, couple examples. Today the cybercrime bill. I was probably the first person to come out and push back against the cybercrime bill via video. Right? Um, I was probably one of the first persons coming out speaking about the Barbados Water Authority and how they intend to bring the sewage water to put back into the aquifers. right? Um, are you threatening to take the government to court on a lawsuit when they wanted to mandate digital IDs? Right? So I have been fighting. We have been fighting. We wrote there. 1 second, please. 1 second, please. Yeah, sorry about that. We are back up and running. Yes. No, as I was saying, no, we did quite a few things so far. Um, as I said, we are not compensated for it in any way. We don't do it for the rewards. We do it for the love. We do it for the love of the people. Mm. Oh, Pedro is saying that you don't. I don't sound like a real socialist. We have too many capitalists preaching socialist thought and are in business, which boggles. No, Pedro, no, you saw that you're confusing yourself because the era of socialism is really and truly dead. Socialism is dead, right? Look at the socialist countries around the world, Pedro. Would you want to live in a socialist country? Right? So you yourself very much would love wealth. I think that you would love to be a wealthy person. You would like to accumulate wealth, gain material success, Pedro, right? You would love that. You wouldn't like for a government to be telling you how much money you could have, and you wouldn't like to live in a state paying 70% taxes, and a government telling you that you could only own one car. eh, Well, there's no. There are some elements of socialism, but majority of the European countries are still heavily capital oriented countries. Now, there are hardly any purely socialist countries in the world. Y'all really understand what socialism? Or it just probably is a fancy term for every man should have. That's not what true socialism is. Socialism is basically there are some people in the country, right? Hey, there are few people in the country who can't afford anything to live, the poor, the whatever, and there needs to be a mechanism to take care, like equal distribution of wealth, right? Equal distribution of wealth. So I can't agree with the fact that socialism well and alive in Europe. That's a total myth, right? Cuba is the example of a socialist country. I don't see European countries looking at Cuba, right? Coming out of socialism in Cuba, it was a very top tier health system. I could agree with you on that one. Hey, call it socialist, but I need you to define your opinion of socialism and what really is socialism and what really is a socialist country. And see that majority of the socialist countries are deep down in poverty. Right? I would never put forward or coin myself as a total socialist. Right? Because total socialism nowadays is just not practical. I don't think we need more of that. I think we need to find uh better ways of taking care of people who don't have, right? There are means and ways that you could get that done without turning the entire country into a socialist state. Right? So because you get welfare and because you get free healthcare and because you get free education, right? You get free education and you get a lot of state sponsored stuff. It is still not total socialism because there are people in the country who work and who earn private wealth, which the government has no control over it whatsoever. So anytime there are people in the country who outside of the government who makes wealth and private wealth and who pay taxes and the like and that money takes care of the wider society, that's still not a socialist society. There are elements of socialism in it, or there are practices of socialism in it, but it's not a total socialism like communism is state control of majority, if not all, resources. Right? And if there are people who get wealth, the government picks those persons who get wealth. Yeah. What is happening in Ireland? Is it, have I not seen what's happening in Ireland? Well, you need to be specific, so you need to tell me what is happening. Um, Pedro is asking if what kind of state would you call the Caribbean a capitalist? Well, the Caribbean is still not totally capitalist because like majority, like, well, we use Barbados. Both administrations, right, practice this. Our political system is based off democratic socialism, right? Right. Democratic socialism. So, as you know, the state pays for a lot in Barbados. So the state subsidizes heavily a lot of what happens here. So from birth, well, from the womb, the state, when you go to the hospital, the clinic for checkup, you still gotta pay for some of that, but it's not totally free. Like, but majority of it's subsidized. So you get any hospital, you know, a baby's born there. I don't think you got paid to deliver babies in Barbados. Um, that could change being on the IMF program though. Uh, you get free education from right up to tertiary level, right? Um, subsidized road. So the government take care of the road. We don't gotta pay tolls or anything to drive on the roads, right? Um, what else? Not everything coming to mind right now. Everything is not coming to mind right now, but I'm gonna make an overall broad statement, and that overall broad statement is that the state takes care of the people, subsidizes life. The IMF, no, right? IMF philosophy, right? The IMF philosophy says that you need to cut that out. So state guarantees, cut that out. Incentives and grants, cut that out. Welfare checks, reduce those. Non-contributory pension, cut that. National insurance benefit, limit payout. Increase national pension age. Have you seen the government build any new housing projects? Like substantial projects. I ain't talking about Chinese houses, nor I ain't speaking about the project that was built over in White Park Road. I like that. I talking about a sustainable housing project, low income housing projects. The governments in Barbados, right, builds housing projects. You had a lot of high-rise projects. I think all of them were built by government. I never seen a high-rise project built by the private sector in Barbados. But if you look at like as again Ireland and other countries, private developers tend to build a lot of these housing projects. Right? So the state of Barbados still controls a lot of the economic activity. So the IMF philosophy allows the state to move itself. Hey, you have too much dead air. What is dead air, Peter Hunt? I am not sure what you are speaking about. Um, is my mic not clear? Are you getting static? Because I don't know what is dead air. Hey, right. So as I was saying, just let me know if my mic is clear because, um, right. As I was saying, IMF philosophy allows the government to move itself out of the way, right? So a lot of what a lot of what the state traditionally did in terms of building houses, completing roads, providing healthcare, providing education, right? And other social goods like welfare and national insurance. IMF philosophy says that no, as opposed to being so socialist, as opposed to giving the public so much, nah, nah. Um, what we're going to do is, what we're going to do is, we're going to allow the people to take care of themselves. So the people should become more capitalist in nature, as opposed to waiting on the government, as opposed to waiting on the government to take care of its citizens. So that's the main reason why the IMF is here to take the amount of dependence on the state and take them off government finances, and you have to fend for yourself. Fend for yourself. That's basically what the IMF is saying to the government, but the government is not telling the people that. Jamaica, look at Jamaica's IMF experience. Look at Guyana. Look at Trinidad. All had devalued currencies. Barbados is not so special that it can't have a currency devaluation. So I want people to get it out their minds that the global world loves Barbados so much that it will never happen. It can happen, and it's so close to happening you will not believe. Right. So let me take a question here. Uh, January, March is saying how is the cost of living in Ireland? Have they gone cashless in the majority of stores? Yes. To be honest with you, I spent $0 while it was here. Right. I spent $0 while it was here. Paper money. I still have all of the US money that I came to. Well, not all because I paid the cab. I paid the cab up front. In US money, but he didn't even want to take the. Oh, let me say this. I want to disavow people's minds of the fact that the US dollar is this globally accepted currency that can be spent in any country. I came here with some US money, like US money, and when I when I offered people US money, people were like, no, we don't take that. What are we gonna do with that? That's useless. Uh, we want we want euros. So you either had to pay in cash, euros, or you had to pay by card. I swiped my card in Ireland for everything. I even swiped my card. I swiped the card to get on the train. I just bought this Sprite here for £2, and I swiped my card in the drink machine. So majority of everything in Ireland is done by card. Visa, debit cards, swipe cards. To get on the bus, you have to have a bus card. You know, I went in a supermarket and I bought something that was only worth $1 and some cents, and I swiped the card. No, it's not the end of the world. Like um something to preach it in Barbados. So yeah, well, man, sheepdog is called pound. When you hear people say £30, £20, £50, I'm using the terminology that is here. Forgive me if I'm not being politically correct. I'm using the terminology that was here. So everywhere you go, people will say, well, this is the price, £10, £15. Yes, it is euros, but they say it as pound. And pounds are spent in Ireland. I know it is euros. I know it is euros, but the people here say pound. Nobody use the terminology euro. Nobody uses the terminology euro. Nobody says, well, it's €50, €60. They say pound. Right? But as I was saying, US money is not really accepted. Well, sheepdog, I'm not here to argue with you. I told you my experience. I told you what happened while it was here. So, whatever. As I was saying, US money is not widely accepted here or accepted at all while it was here. I offered at times, you know, you take US money? Like, what? No, we don't take dollars. You don't take dollars. Right. And it was left with majority of the US money that I have. Still have it. Hey, still have it. But the swiping of cards is widely encouraged. Mm, mm. Swiping of cards is widely accepted here. So even if you catch a taxi or so, um, you could swipe your card in the taxi as well. So you could survive in Ireland without spending any physical cash whatsoever. very easily once you have a swipe card, right? So it's very easy. Right? It's very easy to, you know, and that's basically on the way to being cashless. Now the place is not totally cashless because there are some shops that I went in and they did not have the swipe machines or so, so they actually took physical cash. But again, not US money. Not US money. Eh, So again, the myth that I had in my mind that the US dollar was very dominant across the world and that the US dollar was accepted in any country in the world, and you just have to get US money and you're going clear. I got the shock of my life when I got the shock of my life when people refuse to take US money. Right? So I was like, whoa. But I thought that US money was really accepted in any country. I thought like people really requested the dollar. But that's not so. That is not so. That is not so. That is really, really not so. So my theory, right, is that we need to refocus. Um, if I didn't have a debit card, how would I survive in Europe? Right? How would I survive over here without a debit card? Right? I would have had to go and get that money, um, US money changed in a bank or so, and then there was no guarantee, right? Then there was no guarantee that the bank would accept the US money. Well, they should. They should exchange it for me freely and fairly easy, but there's still no guarantee. Mm. So, if you're coming to Europe, make sure you have a debit card because it makes life super easy, and don't even waste time coming with US money because nobody accepts it. Like, no, it has nothing to do with digital currency and all of the other stuff. But tapping and swiping is a more preferred option in these parts of the world. Yeah. Timmy, yeah, that is true. The US dollar is under. So he said, yeah, say how the experience when I travel through London. USD is really not preferred. Uh, Little government interference to regulate market, no price controls. The market determines the market determines the cost of goods. Capitalism. You can be locked out from the grid. Judy Jokes, hi, good evening to you and welcome to the show. We're up at, whoa, we've been going since 12 and it's actually 2:30 in the morning where I am at. So it should be around 9:30 where you're at. Yes, no, Shanku, there's no reason to have your card blocked though, unless you are engaging in money laundering or engaging in some type of nefarious activity that your card would be blocked. Um, so I won't necessarily worry myself about that. Uh, I think that when you leave Barbados and you come outside of Barbados and you realize that the experience is different in other parts of the world, um, other larger developed countries do not necessarily feel the same way or see things the same way that we do as Caribbean people. The world is really advanced compared to what happens in the Caribbean, right? Uh, for convenience, people are willing to trade their information, and and people are willing to have what is it called, less privacy. People are willing to have less privacy for more convenience, right? So if the card is blocked for whatever reason, um, you will find a way around it, right? But most countries in Europe do card early cash. I mean, some still do cash, but yeah, right, some still do cash. Peter, sometimes I do pause if I am searching comments, so it's not dead air. It's just sometimes I'm just not saying anything at the time. Yeah. Right. So most countries do use the card. So even for like uh public services, there are cards that you swipe to get access to public services. So when you go in the hospital, you swipe, use the card. They're still free, but you have to get the card for usage. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I will listen to uh Hell or Barbados from Damien Dempsey. Yeah, I will listen to it. Hell or Barbados. Yeah, but I must ask you, um, because I wanted to touch a little bit on the thing, but we don't have enough time today. So just mention it briefly. Uh, in terms of connectivity and moving around, we in Barbados drink a lot of Guinness, right? So Guinness is a very big thing here in Ireland. Um, so I bought, some while it was here. I drank some. I have the videos and photos, but I know I wouldn't put them up on the screen. uh, but there's a huge difference in terms of the taste. Um, the Guinness in the Caribbean is very much more aggressive, much more bitter. It has way more alcohol content as opposed to the one here in Ireland. Um, we usually buy Guinness in bottles. However, Guinness is sold here by the pint in like a glass. Uh, so you would roughly pay like $6, $7 for a Guinness, which equates to about $18 maybe or roughly for a Guinness in Barbados currency. Um, we drink whiskey. So Jameson whiskey originated here. I saw uh I saw I went to the Irish Whiskey Museum, by the way, and I saw thousands of brands of whiskey. So the whiskey that we get from Ireland, we only get a few brands. I saw the Tullamore brand. Um, so we don't necessarily have the broad array that they have. We have a couple of brands, right? But I was made aware of the fact that outside of Ireland, Nigeria is the biggest consumer of Guinness, right? The biggest consumer of Guinness. And I am of the opinion, right, that even as it relates to the consumption of alcohol, the importation of alcohol, um, I think Barbados needs to have more interaction on a serious level as it relates to alcohol. So we have some of the best rum in the world, Mount Gay rum, but I hardly saw it. But I didn't see any Mount Gay. I probably didn't look hard enough, but I didn't see any Mount Gay rum. But we do take on a lot of Guinness and we do take on a lot of whiskey in Barbados. But when you look at the reverse, there's not, I mean, in terms of volume, there's not, the fair trade off. So the same way there is a Irish whiskey museum, and me as a tourist, before I left Barbados, I had a bucket list, and on that bucket list was to ensure that I drank Guinness, as the Guinness family is very big and popular here. Now, they no longer own the Guinness brand, by the way, and whiskey. I had to drink some type of whiskey here. So I ticked off those bucket lists. I went to an actual Guinness shop, an actual Guinness shop, which just sells pure Guinness with the bar. It's marketed, branded, everything. Guinness, Guinness, Guinness. I went there. It was a very lovely Irish experience. And then I went to the Irish Whiskey Museum, and I didn't take the tour, but there were tours available. And I just went and I bought. Right, I just went and I bought what I wanted. No, sheepdog, I drink a lot of Jameson back at home, so I did not want to drink that here at all. I wanted to drink something different. So I bought some little snap bottles of, some other brands. And I'm very sorry that I couldn't buy more, but next time, because I'm gonna be a regular visitor here. So next time. But the point that I am making is that Ireland brands, Ireland brands their alcohol, right? That on a tour from a tourism perspective, when I came here, I already had in mind I need to drink Guinness, I need to have a whiskey, right? And I needed to eat some type of beef, or some type of Irish beef, and I did those things. So in the reverse, in coming to the Caribbean and stuff, I think Barbados has some strategic advantages, and we need to take it further. So I saw someone saying, suggesting about Cleviston Haynes, who was the former governor of the central bank. He's now the resident ambassador to Ireland. Uh, I did not have or do not have a contact for Cleviston Haynes, but anybody knows his contact, um, you could send it to me. However, my number is, I'm gonna put my number in the chat that you can send me WhatsApps or so. Um, but I would like to interview Cleviston Haynes as that we were here in Ireland, so that we can hear his experience as ambassador to Ireland, the first ambassador that we have. Um, the fact that he is a government worker or a civil servant, I did not necessarily want to cross those lines per se. But if it is possible that we could get Mr. Haynes on alternate views, having been a resident ambassador, we can give him some ideas, and we can have some conversations with Cleviston Haynes about deepening ties and relationships between Barbados and Ireland and further Europe. Um, from my time being here, there's a lot of work that could be done to join the hands of Bajan and Irish. Is a very good combination. We historically had good relationships with Ireland. So the last names are kind of like very close. There was a guy here I met, and his last name was Farley, right? And some names that are very similar to Barbadian names, and we've always had a good relationship with uh we always had a good relationship with the UK, and Ireland and the UK and Scotland and Wales are all cousins in my opinion. So we could definitely hold hands with the Irish, and I think that there could be great exchange between the two countries. So if there's any person out there that could hook us up with Cleviston Haynes, the former governor of the central bank, who's now resident ambassador from Barbados to Ireland, we'd very much love to have Cleviston Haynes on the program so that we can discuss in public, openly in public about joining the hands of Barbados and Irish, and we have a practical advantage in that we are here on the ground in Ireland. We're not speaking hypothetically. We're not speaking on a wish. We are here. We have the experience. We toured around the place. You know, we took notes. So pure from an economics perspective, right? From an economics perspective, if you can have governor, well, he's not a governor anymore. If you can have ambassador Cleviston Haynes bringing his diplomatic background, and Kemar Stuart bringing his economic background to alternate views, and having that conversation about how we could join hands with the Irish, I think that that's a very strong and futuristic move that the people of Barbados, and I dare say the wider Caribbean, could benefit from such a very deep and thought-provoking conversation between Ambassador Cleviston Haynes and Key Marshall of Alternate Views. So with that being said, there comes the end of my show tonight. So we are wrapping up. But it was very good to be back. We went overtime because it's our first time, so we went overtime. But it's getting very late. It's actually quarter to 3 in the morning, and I have to be up fairly early because the show has to keep going on. But I thank you guys very much for tuning in. Thank you to Sheepdog, and thank you to Timmy. Thank you to Lawrenson, Joseph Kadagan. I'm seeing you, my brother. Thank you, Square Four. I just might remind you guys, although I do not agree with although I do not necessarily may agree with the person does not agree with me, I often encourage the interaction. We don't shy away from having alternate views. That's what the show is all about. So don't ever feel anyway, don't feel anywhere at all about the interaction. I was speaking to somebody earlier. Suspicious Minds. So I hope to see Suspicious Minds back on. That's what this show is all about. This is not a scripted show in any way. This is an open forum for you to challenge me and for me to challenge you as well. So I enjoyed the interaction with you. But Timmy, we're gonna try to make it happen. Right? We're gonna try to make it happen. Um, Mr. Haynes will be a very good man to conversate with. And again, this is not political, this is not partisan. We are moving away from that. Right? We're moving away from that. So yeah, so thank you guys. Very good show again. I missed you guys, and I am very glad to be back on Alternate Views. As I told you, we are live here tonight in Dublin, Ireland. This is our first international show. We are hoping to have more international shows in other jurisdictions as we intend to move all around the world to shoot alternate views. That is the vision, that is the goal. So this is the first of many. Our next show will probably be back in Barbados though. But we're gonna have some persons that we met in Ireland on the show. We're gonna have some Irish guests. We're gonna have some other guests from all over the world. Some persons who would have attended the Emergent Ventures conference as well. So it's going to be a very enjoyable season two. It's different, thought provoking, empowering, no holds barred. We don't spare politicians, although we don't spare them or their feelings. We tell the truth. We don't be disrespectful, not disrespectful, but we tell the truth, and we're not here to spare Schwab. This is Charles Schwab from the WEF. Yeah. So thank you, Pedro, for tuning in. Rhonda, um, thank you very much. Um, Joseph is saying I'm in Toronto, headed to Barbados in the morning. Uh, Thank you, Esther. Have a good night. Let me acknowledge the Caribbean Progress Studies Institute. Let me also acknowledge our premium sponsors, Stuart and Perkins Caribbean. Uh, Let me acknowledge all of the viewers. Thanks again, Sheepdog, for coming on. Thanks again, Timmy. Timmy is saying you're correct. Just like how I went to Cuba and had to smoke a cigar, drink a mojito. Yeah. Good night to you, Fonzo, Lawrence, and Pierre. Thank you for tuning on. Square 4, one of my favorite loyal supporters. Thank you. Uh, Simone Daniel, Peter Hunt, Sugarcane King, Lemuel Tell, Sir Alfred Benjamin, Judy Jokes, Terry Bellamy, Michael Nurse, Toroni. Let me acknowledge Marcia Weeks and Caswell Franklin and Pastor Ferdinand and all the Maxine McLean and all the entire team from the Marcia Weeks program. I was over and out, working on stuff, so I wasn't able to tune into the program, but I'm going to ensure that I get on the program sometime soon. So look for me on the Marcia Weeks program sometime soon. But I believe she's having a show tomorrow at 7 p.m. local time, so ensure that you guys are there and to tune into the Marcia Weeks program. So thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. It is 10 minutes to 3 o'clock, live from Dublin City in Ireland. And I am Kimar Stuart. Alternate views. Over and out. Captain, I will see you next week. Bye.